Welcome to Playtime. I'm your host, Tristan Law, with your other host, JT Delic.
And today we're going to bring you guys our review and some of our thoughts and opinions on Star Wars Rogue One.
But before we do that, we do have Twitter questions from our fans, wherever my phone is. This is coming, let me pull it up real quick, from a fan, XZebraX69. He is asking, Tristan and JT, you should eat shit and kill yourself. Okay, well,
I can't believe that was right on air.
We're gonna skip the questions. If you do have any, you can comment
down below.
But don't say we should kill ourselves.
Yeah, that's not exactly what we're looking
for. Okay. Star Wars Rogue One. What did you think?
Honest opinion on the movie. I went into it feeling pretty good. I read some of the reviews and saw some of the reactions. I think Will Wheaton especially had me intrigued. He said it was his favorite Star Wars since the first one came out. And, you know, going into it, I think the pacing in the first act of the movie, kind of like the first half, was a little bit too rushed. You have a lot of characters that are being thrown into the mix, and there's just not much time for them to develop. But, however, I think towards the end of the movie, in the last act, that pays off tremendously because they all come together, and it's just a very cohesive unit. It's a lot like Suicide Squad was with that group of actors. I think they just were very, very good together. But that being said, I think the overall things that I saw in the movie that I loved were the fact that it really ties in a lot of elements in the original trilogy. It solidifies a lot of the plot points in the original trilogy. Specifically, there are going to be some people who have some major issues with the Death Star in Episode 4. This takes care of that. We won't say anything more for this video. We may do a spoiler talk video in the future, but it really handles that well as just as a tremendous throwback in a way. I mean, they have a lot of actors, well, quote, actors in this movie that are there in the originals, and it ties in so nicely. So for me, that was the biggest positive that I took away from it. I think it's a wonderful addition to the Star Wars universe, and I'm really excited about it. I definitely am looking forward to seeing it again, but let's get into yours.
Well, what did I think about it? Well, I thought the first half of the movie, and this is just my opinion, was just a little stale. Now, I'm not saying it was bad. Mm-hmm. It was just a little stale. I mean, because they had to introduce the characters. You know, for a guy like me who's a little dumb, a little slow,
That's an understatement.
Yeah, an understatement. It's hard for me to remember some of the characters' names. Like, oh, this is Bob and this is Tim. But they weren't like Bob and Tim. They were some pretty difficult names.
That's actually something that's very valid, because I didn't honestly know Jyn Erso's name until halfway through the movie. Like, that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Like, I completely agree with you. That's part of what I was saying, too. So
I mean, I know Jyn, and that's it. Darth Vader, but I don't know, like, I still don't know a lot of the names, but I still, you know, I look at them and I know who they are. But they still introduced them, and I knew their backgrounds, I knew who they were. The first half was stale, but let me tell you something. The second half of that movie was amazing. Now, the movie really shows, like, how A New Hope begins, that's the point of the movie, is, you know, it goes right into A New Hope. So, like, the first half, pretty good. Second half, wow. The second half is pretty much, and this really isn't a spoiler, is how they get the Death Star plans, which is cool. I mean, because you don't really know how they get it, and now it shows you how they get it. And they you know, this isn't really a spoiler, but yeah, it's all out war. It's all out war. It's on the beach. You've seen the trailers. It's all out war, and it's amazing.
Well, you know, that's a great point, because I think some of the scenes, especially on Scarif, were quite honestly among the best I've ever seen in Star Wars whenever it comes to combat. You get to see a lot of new vehicles, a lot of new troop types, especially with the Imperials. I mean, the stormtroopers in this movie, there's just so many different types and kinds. And it's really great to see that. I think it does a lot for the expanded universe and for the original trilogy. But moving on, I think we want to talk a lot about the characters in this movie, because quite honestly, they're some of the best out of the entire Star Wars saga. So getting into that, let's talk about Jyn Erso. She's the main character in this movie. Felicity Jones is an amazing actress, in my opinion, did a tremendous job. But what were some of your thoughts on her character, and, you know, maybe what could have been done better and what was done well?
Well, I'll tell you what. So far, we've seen from Force Awakens that we've had a female protagonist, and that's a good thing. I think she does a really good job right off the bat of the movie. it shows her already. It shows off, it doesn't just throw her in the movie. It shows off where she was, how she became who she is. I really found her interesting. This isn't a spoiler, but you'll see, like, when you see the movie, in the beginning of the movie, she was like, I don't care about the rebels. I don't care about the Empire. I'm just me. I don't really give a crap. I'm a rebel in my own way. But then, something happens in the movie that kind of changes her heart. And I like it. Honestly, I like what how she transitioned to helping steal the Death Star plans for the rebels. I really liked her. I mean, obviously she's a good looking woman.
She is.
She played it very well. I liked everything that she was in. She was honestly good. Wish I could see more of her. I mean, she was pretty badass.
I definitely agree with everything that you just said. I think, she's a tremendous actress and does really a lot for the movie. It was wonderful to watch her gel on screen with so many of the different characters. That being said, though, I think, we should definitely talk about some of the other ones. Let's go into Captain Cassian.
Yes.
I believe his rank is captain. What did you think about him? Did you think that he added a lot to the plot? I mean, what were your thoughts on his character?
That was a guy that was with Jin.
That was...
Because, like I said, I'm terrible with names. I liked him. Obviously, he was not Han Solo, but I'm not going to lie, he reminded me of Han Solo. Like, he kind of took on that Han Solo character. Mm-hmm. And I liked him. Like, he was good with the gun. I mean,
yeah.
He showed a lot of passion in what he was doing. I liked him. I mean, he did a good job.
He definitely had a dynamic character. I think, watching him towards the beginning of the movie, because the major theme in this movie is how rebellions are not pristine. I mean, you're always going to have to do things that, are in the gray area at least, or are just downright wrong if you want to win a battle or a war. Mm-hmm. And we didn't see that in the original trilogy. The rebellion was always kind of painted in a white light, but he helps kind of toe that gray line and show that, while the rebellion is definitely the lesser of two evils, it's not perfect. I think his character does a great job of that, as does Jyn Erso's, Felicity Jones's character. But that being said, I think Captain Cassian is really where you see that plot point and that motif chiseled down into a single character and some single actions. But moving on from that, I think one of our favorite characters and one of the ones that I'm most excited to talk about is K2SO, the new droid in this movie, who is absolutely hilarious and absolutely incredible in my opinion. I mean, some of the best scenes and best moments in this movie were from him. So, I mean, go into a little bit about what you thought about him and really kind of let us know what you want to see more of, I guess.
Well, let me just say, if you're watching a Star Wars movie, you're expecting action, drama, and comedy. And this robot brings all of it. I mean, he made me sad. He made me laugh a lot. He was a good character. Like, I know when I saw, like, the Rogue One posters, I'm like, okay, I wonder what he's going to be. He actually turned out pretty funny. He was, many of you don't know who we're talking about. Yeah, we're talking about a robot. He's kind of like CP3O, complete different robot, but he kind of took on that role CP3O, because he's not, CP3O and R2 is not in the movie. I thought he was awesome. I mean, he was a robot with balls. Even though I didn't show the robot balls, it was a robot with balls. He was funny. He was badass, and he really has it's a really funny, like, relationship with Jyn, because you'll see, like, they don't like each other in the beginning, and it's funny. Like, they have these back and forth interactions, which I think are funny. But then you see, like, they start to they start to bond a little better. I loved him. I would not care, like, not care. I would love if we saw a movie just based on him. Like, that's how cool he was.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think if there are other movies or if he appears in other films in the Star Wars universe, I would certainly love it. I think that what stood out to me was, we see so many droids in Star Wars. It's a very saturated character in the Star Wars universe. I mean, you have C-3PO and R2-D2, of course, but then there's so many other droids that have been throughout the movies, whether they're minor characters or even some slightly major ones. He really helped to define himself and really separate himself, make him unique. I mean, I'm going to remember him, as long as I can. I mean, I'm sure that I'll have him in the back of my mind when I'm watching Episode 8 next year. That was nice to see because, again, when you saw him on the poster, you're like, oh, it's a droid. Might just be another typical Star Wars droid. But no, I mean, he really adds a lot to the plot because he is an Imperial droid who has been recircuited for the rebellion, which plays into some of the larger plot elements, as well as his personality and the way that he acts and the way that he talks. And again, I think you mentioned a great point. His interactions with some of the major characters in this movie, especially Jyn Erso, makes things very interesting to watch. So I could not agree more. I think he is tremendous. He could be one of the best characters in the movie for sure, but he could be the best. I mean, he stole a lot of this movie and really kind of, I think, was a major hit with the audience.
Oh, he was one of my favorites.
Absolutely. But, having covered those big three, we kind of want to move into one of the things that people might not be expecting in this movie. It's not a major spoiler. We've decided to include it in this portion of the video because it plays into the canon Star Wars lore. It plays into the original three movies, and it also is, nothing that's going to spoil the tremendous overarching theme of the plot. But that being said, Grand Moff Tarkin, or we'll refer to him now as Governor Tarkin, he's known by both, but that's just a little easier to say, is in this movie. It was a tremendous thing for me. I know Tristan doesn't know him as well, but he plays a major role in Episode 4, and he's quite honestly one of those characters that really flies under the radar for me. I think he's a little bit underrated, and he just does so much for me as far as a real Imperial badass goes. I mean, he's got that kind of posh, just arrogance about him, but he also has that kind of commanding presence that you would expect from an Imperial authority.
Which one is this guy?
This is the CGI slender.
Yeah.
Yes, was kind of Darth Vader's higher up in the original trilogy. But that being said, why don't you give your thoughts and then I'll give mine, and we'll get into what really made that interesting.
So this was a guy that he was kind of the commander. He wasn't one that was wearing the white uniform. He was wearing the black. Okay, so yeah, he looked. If it was CGI, I thought it was another character. That's how good he looked. Like, I thought it was another guy, another actor playing that guy who looked just like him. He looked insane. I liked him, though. He was definitely in Episode 4. I wasn't, too aware of it, but he was definitely, he was awesome. He was leading it pretty much, and he was telling who was the guy in the white cloak?
Director Krennic.
Krennic, that's right. So Krennic was kind of, lower than him. Tarkin was kind of Krennic's boss, pretty much, and I liked him. I mean, he wasn't a character that really stands out to me. So I don't have too many opinions or thoughts on him. Mm-hmm. But obviously, he's in the movie. Expect him to be in the movie. That's pretty much it.
I think for me, a couple things stand out. The first is that for a CGI character, he gets a significant amount of screen time. I remember as soon as they showed him, I believe they're an Imperial Star Destroyer, and they show him looking out of the window at the Death Star as the laser beam receptor or reticle is being put in, and you see the back of his head, and of course, I recognized it immediately, and I figured they may show the back of his head or may have him talk, but he won't turn around. And so he turns around, and then they show his face, and he has about a 5-minute scene with Director Krennic, Ben Mendelsohn's character, and the dialogue is perfect. It sounds exactly like he does in the original trilogy. In fact, there's a moment where they fire the beam from the Death Star, and you just hear him say, you may fire when ready. And it just sounds exactly like Episode 4, which I loved. But, again, he's probably in the movie for a total of 20 to 25 minutes, I would estimate. I mean, he's in there a significant amount. You see his face, and it looks exactly like him. They did a tremendous job. And that really excited me. I think that's something that I wanted to see, but I wasn't expecting, which is always a nice surprise. But moving on from that, let's talk about his subordinate, Director Krennic. He, in my opinion, was great as well. Ben Mendelsohn is somebody that I've been aware of since The Dark Knight Rises.
That's what he was in.
Yes,
when I saw him, I knew he was in a movie. What character
he played? Bruce Wayne's rival in the business market. It starts with a G, his name in that movie.
Bane was trying to Bane broke his neck.
Yes, Bane did kill him. And I thought he did well in that movie. In this movie, I really think he's a great Imperial dick, really. I mean, he's a dick. He's not quite as much of a badass as a character like Tarkin or Darth Vader, but he's got that kind of just Imperial asshole in him that really kind of gets you motivated against him and makes you want to root for your protagonist cast. So I mean, talk a little bit about him. What did you think? I mean,
I loved him. Honestly, like he was awesome. He's not a Darth Vader or the Emperor, but he was awesome. I mean, the guy who played him, Ben, whatever his name is, he played him like perfectly. Like, yeah, like you said, he was a dick, and he just had a lust for power. All he wanted was to take over the Death Star. He wanted the Emperor to know. He wanted the Emperor to promote him. He was awesome. He played that role so good. And you see, he has a lot of screen time. You see him in the beginning of the movie. Like he's cocky. He's kind of like a dick. But you see his highs and his lows in the movie. I mean, he has a pretty cool scene with Darth Vader, and like you see, like, I mean, he's not the strongest, most powerful guy, but like, and that's what I like. Like, you see him like do good things for himself, and you see him do bad things. You see him his highs and his lows. I really liked him. Like, he was struggling a lot in the movie too, because he was just trying to do good so the Emperor would promote him. But as you know, the rebels are they're messing with him, and it makes him mad. It makes him have to do things. I liked him. The actor who played him, he nailed it.
Yeah.
I honestly, and also, if you play Star Wars Battlefront, you would know that the Rogue One DLC just came out, and he is a playable character on the villain side, and I got to play with him today. Pretty fun. I will be posting gameplay of that. Hopefully, if I can play as him, I'll play on Heroes and Villains. And there's a reason they put him on the game. He's a good character. I honestly, like, just his whole outfit, the way he talks, he's a good character. I like him.
I really do agree with that. I think that he was a lot like Felicity Jones's Jyn Erso. I mean, on the opposite side of the spectrum, however. But they both did a lot for the plot. They both came in and really made this movie have the reputation that it did, because whenever you have quality actors, it's just going to make your plot that much better, even if you have a shaky plot, which this movie didn't. This movie had a really, really solid plot, in my opinion. It just enhances it and makes it that much better. So I couldn't agree more. I think that he was a very well-rounded character. I think they thought it out well. It makes sense the way things happen to him in this movie. It makes sense where he starts out, and it also makes sense where he's left off. So I was very happy to see that, and I thought it was just a really nice surprise, because I wasn't totally expecting him to be as good as he was. But
yeah.
Moving on from that, there is, of course, the thing that I'm sure you've all been waiting for. It's the thing that got me excited from the moment that I saw it was going to happen, and that is that Lord Vader himself is in this movie. He's in it sparingly. He's not in it. This is not The Empire Strikes Back. You're not going to see Darth Vader every other scene. I would give him a total screen time of maybe 5 to 10 minutes. I believe he has 2 major scenes. One is with Krennic, and one is towards the end of the film. That being said, without giving anything away, what were your thoughts?
All I can say is, oh my god. Because you see Darth Vader, as we all know, the greatest Sith Lord of all time. You see him in A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, as Darth Vader, more of it's just a really cool character, an iconic character. But you see him in this one, the way you see him in this one compared to the originals, it's completely different. They look the same, but they're completely different. In this one, you see like a darker Darth Vader. You see a scarier Darth Vader. I mean, you really see him. Like, the scenes where he's in, they're scary. I mean, they really make him scary the way that he should be perceived. Like, he's not just some Sith Lord, blah blah blah. No, like, he is like, it's almost like a horror character. He's he's not just a villain. Like, he's a dark villain. And you're right, he's not in it. And if you've seen Suicide Squad, Batman's in it, but he's not in it. He's only in it for like 4 minutes. And he's kind of like that, but he's in it longer. But he makes a huge impact. And I'm not going to give it a spoilers, but he is, I mean, there's a scene where he's in the movie, and you just see how powerful he is, how scary he is. And I love that they showed that, that dark side of Darth Vader.
I agree with you. I think that's something that a lot of people think about the original trilogy, is that you don't see Darth Vader lay down the law. And that's, both good and bad, and it is what it is. However, that being said, the scene that we were talking about in this movie is the only words that I think I saw before him. I think I had a 7 o'clock showing, he had a 10. And I texted him after the movie, and I think the first 4 texts were, "Oh my God, Darth Vader, a whole bunch of
holy bleep."
Yes, and just a lot more things along those lines. It is just incredibly fitting that they put this scene in there. It's tremendously well done. We will just digress a little bit. So if you do not want to hear anything about this scene right now, turn this video off, leave. We appreciate you viewing, but we will give you a spoiler warning. That being said, we're going to continue. This scene is a combat scene. It's a battle scene. You see Vader's lightsaber drawn, and he kills some rebels. His Force abilities are tremendously exercised. I mean, you see things that you didn't even know were possible as far as a Force user goes, and it really makes him seem like the absolute badass that he is and that he should be. That's all we'll say about that. So if you muted your video, we're all good now. No more spoilers. But coming back into it, I think his other scene with Krennic showed a more very harsh diplomatic side of Vader. I mean, he really verbally abuses Krennic. He has one kind of bad pun, but he just, you can see the raw power that he has, and you can see the fear in Krennic, just even having to go and talk to Vader. But I think it does a lot for his character in the original movies. I think it makes him that much better. I think it does a lot for his overall legacy, and this sets the stage for an absolute bombshell, because Disney has shown in this movie that they know how to do Vader right. And if they were to make a standalone film simply about Vader's history, or his doings in between episode 3 and 4, or even in between the original trilogy movies, I think they'd make a ton of money. I would pre-order my tickets the first day they went on sale for that. That being said, just to wrap up what we think about Vader, my personal opinion is if you love this character like we do, I mean, he, in my opinion, is one of my favorite characters of all time, and definitely probably my favorite from the Star Wars universe besides Luke, or maybe Yoda.
Yoda's pretty cool.
Yoda's the shit. But if you love Darth Vader, go see this movie immediately if you've not already. It is absolutely incredible as far as what he is. Like we said, not in it very much. I mean, you may be disappointed with the amount of time that he's on screen, but when he is on screen, it is absolutely incredible.
They make it count.
They really do. The one scene that we were talking about is, in my opinion, one of the best 3 minutes in the entirety of Star Wars. That's across the board from any film. So it's definitely something that we both enjoyed. I think everybody, whenever they see it, I couldn't stop smiling. As soon as I saw him, it just a huge grin across my face. So definitely go and look for that.
And if you guys can recall, I don't know how many people played it. I know I did. I believe it's called The Force Unleashed. Have you played it?
Yes, I played both.
Well, it's kind of like the opening scene to the first one. Like, if you played as Vader, you know how powerful he is. It was kind of like that on that Wookiee planet. It's like that. Yeah. I forget what it was called, but it's kind of like that. Thank you. It was pretty cool. And I'm sure that you're wondering, when does the scene take place? It's the last 5 minutes of the movie. So, I'm just letting you know right now, the movie's good, but then the last 5 minutes, awesome. I mean, even the last thing that you see in the movie is pretty cool. It gave me chills, and CGI required. I'm not gonna tell you who it is, but it's pretty cool. But yeah, it goes right into it, and that's kind of where the movie ends. It goes literally right into.
It literally walks right into A New Hope and sets it up perfectly. Like I said, I think that the plot issues that were addressed in A New Hope in this movie really do a lot to kind of tidy them up. So much more will make sense about so many things, and that's, I think, one of the best selling points of this movie. But with that being said, we don't want to make this video too long, so we're going to wrap this thing up for you guys. Do you have any final thoughts on the video, or any final things you want to say?
I'll just say this. If you watch the whole video, then I guess you can tell that you should go and get a ticket and watch it. I mean, this isn't this was a pretty, it wasn't lopsided review. We both loved the movie. If you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to love the movie. If you're not a Star Wars fan, you're still gonna love the movie. It's an awesome movie. I definitely think everybody should go see it. You know, if you've seen The Force Awakens and you didn't really like it, that's fine. But you're gonna love this. You're gonna love it. I love The Force Awakens, but I really love this movie.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair way to put it. I think, again, it's a tremendous movie for the Star Wars saga, for the Star Wars universe. That being said, it isn't perfect. Some of the pacing issues we mentioned in the first half especially stand out, but it's definitely up there. I would have to give it probably an 8.5 out of 10, possibly a 9. We'll see about that and see how it sits, but let's just real quick, what would you give it number value?
Probably the same.
Probably the same?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's
Probably
good that
same.
we're in consensus, but
We're the same.
with that, we want to thank you guys for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely get a conversation going below. We're interested to hear what you guys thought about it and some of the things that maybe you want to see us talk about. I know there's a lot of theories and a lot of information that's coming out from the release of this movie and the sideline novel to it, Catalyst, that people are talking about. So go ahead and hit us up with that, and we'll definitely be sure to get back to you guys with whatever we can. But with that, until next time, you guys are watching Playtime.